I do think as moms, I think there is, the, I think there's more mom guilt than there is dad guilt. I will say. I mean, obviously I go through a little bit of guilt, like if I am on a phone call and I have my kids. There's some. I definitely feel a little guilt. I think this is just my theory, and you guys can tell me if I'm
We'll
wrong
rip
or
you
not. But I
apart if
do
you're
think there's.
wrong. We'll totally rip you
Yeah.
apart. Okay? Go
Good.
for it.
I do think there's.
Coyotes are waiting.
Yeah.
We're about to pounce.
I will say there's way more pressure on women and moms to be all things,
Yeah.
right? There, like, I think and I don't know, I'm trying to make sure I'm not like
So far, you've got a
saying,
big fan club of
You're
moms.
good.
So
You're
keep
good.
okay,
going.
You're good.
no, and I'm talking to dads too. I'm talking to men too, because I think it's important for men to realize this, right? That you, like your husband, it's important for him to realize that you feel the pressure greater than he does.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Medeiros.
And I'm Colleen Hungerford. And this is We're Doing This Right, right? A podcast for the whole woman. Mind, body, soul, and business.
It's humor infused, as real as it gets, inspiring, and you'll walk away with real usable tools for life and business.
If you love what you're hearing, please share with a friend, subscribe so you'll never miss an episode, and rate and review whenever you listen.
So find your earbuds, lace up your walking shoes, or cozy up with a beverage of your choice. It's time to dig in. We're doing this right? Right, Colleen?
I think that today, particularly, we are doing this really right because we have a first on our show. Right, Cheryl?
Tell me, what's so new?
Well, I mean, we talked about we have 4 male listeners. Maybe.
Yes, we have 4 male
maybe
listeners.
3.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to have our first ever man guest. And I'm so excited about it.
Oh.
And we're really honored because it's a very, very special.
We are really honored. Yes. So we welcome Skye Michiels to the podcast. Hello, Skye.
Hi, guys. You're probably your first Skye as well on the podcast, I'm guessing, as well.
Yes. 2 firsts today.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Skye Michiels is the founder and CEO of With Heart Coaching Company. He combines 23 years of real estate experience with decades of training on life and self-improvement. He is the former head of coaching at Compass Real Estate and is a loving dad of 2 amazing children. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on, and I'm honored to be your first male guest.
We're so excited to have you.
I love, so Cheryl always gets the bios and I don't always get to read them because I just come up here and wing it. I'm just kidding. I do a lot of research. But what I love that you put in your bio, Skye, is that you're a dad. I always very intentionally put in my bio that I'm a mom because that's important to me. But you don't always see that in a man's bio. And I think that is important, right?
Yeah. It's probably, obviously, it could just be, that could be the only thing I put in there. And honestly, that's the most important thing. My 2 kids, Mackenzie's 14 and Hudson's 11. And, they are just two truly incredible children. And part of the, over the last couple of years of traveling and working, for Compass was one of the best things in my life ever from a professional standpoint. But I did wake up and, waking up in a hotel room when you're on the road all the time.
Yeah.
And then your daughter is like 14 one day and you're like, I got 4 years left.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And anyways, so just making sure I was there for being more present with them was a really critical part of my decision to leave Compass and form my own coaching company.
I love that.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us about that? So Skye recently made a big jump. Tell us. So you were in a pretty secure gig.
Pretty
doing big things for Compass.
Big job. You're famous. You're a celebrity in the Compass real estate world for sure.
I always say I was just a realtor. I'm just a realtor at the end of the day. Well, I'll start the story maybe back when I was in 9th grade, if that's okay. And basically, when I was in 9th grade, my teacher, Mr. Wells, was my 9th grade English teacher. And we grew up pretty poor. So Mr. Wells would allow you to redo any paper as many times as you want to earn as high grade as you wanted to. So I was not very good in English. So I would redo my paper by hand over and over and over. And at the end of the year, he was such a great teacher and such a great influence on me. At the end of the year, he showed up, and it dates me a little bit, but he showed up at my door when he gave me a word processor, so I didn't have to rewrite my papers.
Oh my
And it's just like one of those small gestures that I would always remember the rest of my life. And at that moment, I was like, I want to be a teacher.
God.
And I was an athlete, had great coaches. So I always knew growing up I wanted to be a teacher. So I went to Syracuse University. I graduated. I was a high school history teacher, and I got a great job right out of college. And right away, I was like, "Damn, I'm still poor." So unfortunately, it's like you go master's degree, 5 years of schooling.
Yeah.
So I got into real estate back in 2002, just as my side gig. Like every teacher has their side gig, and I took to it like a fish in water. And I use my same skills as a teacher in real estate, right? Education, training, connecting with people, being able to explain things. So it really just took off. And basically I did both for 3 years because once again, you guys know what it's like to have a secure paycheck,
Yeah.
benefits, and then make the jump. So to make a long story short, I finally went full time in 2005. But throughout my career in real estate, as I grew, I was always doing trainings, right? I was always at Keller Williams. I was the head of our training department at our office. Like I was always on panels. So I always enjoyed giving back. And then in 2018, when I formed Compass, not when I didn't, but when Compass
Ooh,
came to Philadelphia,
Skye.
and I took over as the managing director in Philadelphia with my dear friend John Bielik, and we started growing it. We made training as the cornerstone of what we did.
Hmm.
So we had trainings all the time. So I was constantly there. And then if you guys remember March of 2020, COVID hit. And
Oh, that pandemic.
yeah, that
Yeah.
little thing called the pandemic. And I started the 6 a.m.ers back then. And that grew to be a national thing. In addition, I was also on the Coaching at Compass team, which is our virtual training platform, Lance Pendleton and some other amazing sales managers in there. And then 2 years ago, I was elevated to the head of coaching at Compass. My original title was the head of agent development, but eventually
Hmm.
they made it the head of coaching. And I was the co-head of coaching with Courtney Smith. And so I always knew that coaching and training was part of my life vision from ninth grade till today. And, once again, as the years were going on of working, traveling as with my role and everything like that, I knew that forming this coaching company was my life's work. And really I get to combine everything I've learned through 23 years of real estate and leadership and running teams, being a sales manager, being the head of coaching. I get to combine all of that with 47 years of life. And, over these years, I've had a ton of self-help courses. I've read so many books, listened to endless podcasts, and have lots of therapy as well. so, so I get to combine all that into one company. And when I really made the decision to form the company, the company was formed in my mind years ago, and there's never the right time, but as the year sort of transitioned from 2023 to 2024, I made the decision, and now's the time to go. So I left Compass on February 29th of
Wow.
2024. And
Oh my God.
I've been,
Good day to leap.
Leap
What a
I
good
year
day
know,
to
today.
leap.
it was such a cool way to, the universe sort of handed that day. And there's such great things about being able to leave on that day and everything like that. And it was a really sad day. Obviously a lot of emotion. I did my last 6 a.m. call, tears pouring down my face, everything like that. And then I went through, you go through a mourning period too. Like
Yeah.
even though there's so much that I'm proud of, there was this mourning period of loss, so to speak, that I had to like sort of go through. And then you guys know what this is like when you form a company as an entrepreneur, and every realtor or every business owner listening to this can relate to it. Now it's like that laying in bed at night and the anxiety kicks in of like, oh my God, I got to pay my bills.
Yeah. Oh
I
shit.
gotta, yeah, I gotta create from scratch, right? Like, cause when you're an employee for a company, it's not like it's not like you can take everything I did at Compass and like just say, oh, like here, you got to recreate
Yeah.
from scratch. Cause what I created at Compass, that's Compass's property, right?
Mhm.
That's their intellectual property, which is great. That's what I got paid to do. So now it's like, I got to create from scratch. And so I'm an ultimate optimist, and I didn't anticipate some of the emotional roller coaster I went on in this early parts of the journey. So
The jump is scary. The jump is scary.
But you know what I love is that just the honesty in that, right? Because that's
yeah,
something that Cheryl and I have talked about so many times. And we were chatting quickly about this before we got on here, but just like, the morning of leaving a company or leaving a place that maybe wasn't, you're ready for the next thing. So this no longer fits the needs that you have now, but doesn't mean it didn't fit the needs that you had during that period of time.
that's right.
So you're excited about one thing, and that's really exciting. You're really driven and you're really motivated to do this one thing, this new thing, but you have to go through the process of that loss and that mourning and all of those feelings in that process.
Yeah.
Well, I have an interesting comparison or example of this. Like, as I'm leaving to go deliver my second child, I'm
Mm,
sobbing saying goodbye to my first because this is the end of her being my only kid. And I'm
Yeah.
so sad that I'm taking away, like, she's not going to be my only baby anymore. Even though I
yeah.
know this next thing I'm doing is amazing and incredible. But it was like, I'm beside myself devastated at the end of this chapter,
Yeah.
even though the next is even better. It's
Yeah.
such a strange human emotion is wild.
Wild. Well, and I think too, we got to give ourselves grace to feel what we feel. I think often we're fed a message that, oh, well, you should be excited. Like you should be ecstatic. Like you're forming,
Grateful.
congratulations, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and so I think in our minds, no one's saying you shouldn't feel that, by the way. We're saying it to ourselves in our minds that, why do I feel sad right now?
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, wait. So I went through this process where I had to learn to give myself grace and be like, you know what? I'm just gonna feel it. Like I'm sad. I love
Mhm.
waking up to my 6 a.m.ers. I love waking up to travel and teach, and everything like that. And I went from where every day I was in front of hundreds or thousands of people, right? To now being alone and building.
Yep.
And so it was a big process of giving myself grace. So I think that's a lesson that people should really make sure they internalize, that whatever you're feeling, just be in it, and that's okay to be in it for a short amount of time, as long as you know and you start to take the steps to take little actions in moving out of it. But give yourself grace to be in it, right? It's okay to be sad. It's okay to mourn. It's okay to miss, right? But it's not okay to stay there forever.
Yeah.
That's the key
Right.
thing.
I think one of the things too to recognize is that doesn't happen right away. Like that doesn't sometimes that morning comes a little bit later, right? Like that has been an interesting transition for me in a brokerage change, because it was kind of a quick change, and my friend literally was like, "Listen, you're such a badass bitch. You like wiped your tears and called the next brokerage and said,
Mhm.
sign me up." And that was that toughness that I had to deal with in that
Yeah,
time. And it wasn't honestly until a couple months later where I realized how sad I was about that, and that it didn't hit me.
Colleen, you're hitting me right in my heart, because I was the same way. The first week, I didn't have any sadness. I was all jacked up,
Action.
right?
Yeah.
Action. Let's
Like
go. Let's go.
action, and it's
Yeah.
like, boom, let's go. Like, oh, website done,
Yeah.
like email done, launch call scheduled. And then it was like after the launch call that I was like sort of like, whoa, what is this that I'm feeling? Do you
Yeah.
know? And it
Yeah.
really hit me. And I think once again, I struggled in the beginning of like giving myself grace. Like I'm like, why am I waiting awake? Why am I awake at 3 o'clock in the morning thinking of like this, right? Why am I feeling like this? And it took me a little bit to just give myself the grace to mourn and to be, to be sad about the ending of a chapter while excited about the beginning of another one.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about this next chapter. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing in this next chapter?
Mm,
I'm so excited about it.
mm, mm. Um,
And for those of you listening and watching on YouTube, both Colleen and Skye are basically wagging their tails with excitement.
We're shaking, we're shimmying in our
we're doing that. We're
yeah.
doing the happy dance right now for those of you listening. So when, as I was, observing the coaching world as I was training agents, one of the things that I observed is that the vast majority of coaching programs out there, and not all of them, but most of them are geared at giving agents or business people in general lots of tactics and ways of doing things with no care given to the human being,
Mm.
with no care giving to the emotional side, with no way of making sure you're building up the sort of emotional human habits that would support these tactics. And many companies are, it's very similar to the healthcare industry where they would just want to, you have high blood pressure, here's a pill, take it.
Yeah.
But when do I get off of it? Well, you can't get off of it
Yeah, you don't.
unless you actually, right? Yeah. So in other words, like, well, we're going to prescribe exercise. You're going to meet with a nutritionist. We're going to change your diet, your movement, and your mindset, and then we're going to see what happens then, right? That's the model that I really wanted to make sure I built, was a model where agents and business owners didn't feel the shame and guilt that sometimes they feel with other coaching programs, because you're handed all these things that you should be doing or that you could be doing. And then you look at it and you're like, I'm not doing any of it. And I got to go pick up my kids. I got to, show this house. How am I going to do all these 10 tactics that'll change my listing presentation or whatever it might be. Right. And
Yeah.
it's not a knock on any program. Those coaching programs work. But my specialty is actually being able to combine the human and the business person into one. And so as I'm building every program, there's three of our core values. That's happiness, healthiness, and humanness.
Mm.
Everything we build is going to be built to make sure we're elevating people's happiness, we're making them healthier, and we're really addressing them as human beings and making sure their business is being built in a human way. Because at the end of the day, I think that's really the future of real estate as well, is we need to really recognize that the world of the click and get a lead, do a transaction, get another lead, do a transaction, that world is gonna exist, and gonna exist in a high level, but the economics of it are really going to be suppressed and the competition is going to be really high.
Yeah.
What I want to really push any agent that's listening to this is I want you to think of yourself like a high-end financial advisor. And I want you to think of, how can I develop a portfolio of people, of clients that are forever clients that I take care of at a really high level. And as a result, they take care of me at a really high level. And that's, I think, the model that I really coach to and I push to. So when I was launching the company, obviously you're trying to come up with a name, and the obvious one was Skye Michiels Coaching, right? Well, the challenge with that is it didn't really speak to the values I have of, being happy and healthy and human. And the other challenge with that is that, I know this might come as a surprise to you, but I'm actually a straight white man.
How dare
And
you? How dare you even
yeah,
be here on our
yeah. So,
podcast?
I don't know if you guys noticed that, but and unfortunately, our coaching world is really dominated with the people in privilege, and I am of that class, right? So what I want to do with this company is I want this company to represent the world as it is. And the world as it is there's all different colors, there's all different mindsets, there's all different economic backgrounds. And there's a world where we need to elevate people of color, people of different genders, people of different economic backgrounds into leadership roles. And because it's called With Heart Coaching, there is a world eventually where I can lead from the back of the room, so to speak, and fade into the background and still be a force and a presence and what I call being an ally, right?
Right.
Because being, in some ways, like, advocating is not enough. I actually need to be an ally, and I actually need to be aware of my privilege and make sure I take active steps to elevate people above that.
Right.
And so I'm an ally, not a, yes, an advocate, of course, as well. But that's some of the background of why I've called the company With Heart Coaching, is that eventually people may not even know who I am. And that's great. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I don't need to be the one on stage. I don't need my name in neon lights. What I want is
What a
the person.
great
Yeah.
what a great awareness of ego to be
Yeah.
able to do that
Well,
and
Yeah.
set
and
yourself up in that way.
and growth, right? because this is what I've noticed. There's a couple things I want to ask you just based on what you said, but by you doing this intentionally, you don't have to be the face, right?
Yeah.
And that allows you to grow. And I see,
That's right.
and I see realtors do this. I see businesses do this where they put their name on it because they want their name there and that's important to them and that's their brand. But that is stifling as a business owner because
Yeah.
if I'm signing up for Skye Michiels coaching, you better be coaching me because that's
right.
what I'm signing up for. Right.
That's right.
And in a previous business, that I had in my construction and design firm that I had in LA, that I ran into that problem because it was my last name and people wanted me. And I was like, how am I supposed to do? There's no growth there.
Yeah.
So for you as an entrepreneur, for you as a business person, it also checks this box of your own happiness, health, and humanity, right? Like you get to be able to grow and grow the business, which I think is so cool. And the other thing that Cheryl and I talk a lot about is we call it, I mean, we're talking about this with our retreat that we're working on, is like this holistic entrepreneur, right? And
the whole person.
We talk about the whole person. And I think one of the things as far as agents go, I don't know that they always recognize that they're an entrepreneur. Like, I don't know that they really wear that hat, right? And when you do wear that, but you're always running your own business, right? Even if you're on a team, you're running your own business. Yeah. And when you look at it from an entrepreneurship, that encompasses every single part of your life. That encompasses your kids. That encompasses your spouse or not, or lack of spouse. That encompasses your health. That encompasses all of those parts, right? Because when you're an entrepreneur, you're not just clocking a 9 to 5. Everything you do, you lay in bed all night worrying because you got to pay your bills to feed your family, right? And it's all on you. So I love that. I'm like freaking out over here because I love this concept because it's also so in line with what Cheryl and I have been talking about for a long time, is like, if we're really going to succeed as people and kind people and good people, this is the approach that is sustainable. Right.
Yeah. And I think as leaders as well, we need to reframe the narrative away from the hustle and grind culture that we're fed.
Yeah.
We need to reframe the narrative that my worth is tied to being number one or to doing, having a trophy or whatever it might be. My worth and my hope of what I can bring forward is that your success is actually measured in how happy and how healthy you are.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I wish there was awards for the happiest and healthiest person out there. There's not, the rewards are all internal, but we live in this culture that is geared at this hustle and grind. And like, if you're not crushing it, you're not making it. Right. And we got to reframe that. And I think
those are such aggressive words, like crush. Yeah. Like what aggressive word that is.
Yeah.
Grind.
Yeah.
Like those are
we want gentle success. Now, we talked about that. That's what we want. We want gentle success.
And there's moments, like I said, this is like, there's, not to use gender terms, but there's masculine and feminine energy or positive, negative, or what, I don't know what exactly the right term to use, but there's moments where I got to go to my inner athlete and push and work hard. Right now, I'm in a little bit of a, I'm in an athlete mode, right? Where I am working hard and I recognize it, and that's okay. As long as I recognize that I got to balance it with taking care of myself and like going back into my self-care practice as well. So it's not to say that you can't operate and work hard at times, right? But I think it's this reframing, to your point, of the narrative or the verbs or the way we describe it as crushing it or grinding or right. No, like I want to be in flow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be in flow.
I love flow.
Yeah.
I love flow so much. It's my favorite.
That's a societal definition of success, where if you haven't worked hard and you haven't you haven't been grinding, and if you don't have an ulcer, and if you don't stay up late at night, then you're not successful, because obviously you could have worked harder, right? That's what society is telling us that we should be doing, and that is an expectation that we perpetuate as well. We do.
Yeah.
Look at how great I am.
Well, and I'm going to
email at 11:45 at night. Look at how dedicated I am.
I want to take this moment to encourage agent to agent respective boundaries and business hours. And I'm going to take this from Lacey Newman. Was watching her Instagram this week, and like, if that email can wait, like if you want to work at 11:45 p.m., that's good for you. Why don't you schedule that email for business hours to go,
Yeah.
so that that agent doesn't have to receive it in non-business hours and feel an obligation to then get to their clients. And I was
Yeah.
guilty of this week. I sent an email at 8 p.m. with a counter offer and texted the agent and said, it's in your email. But I did then say, like, I'm not expecting a response. Like, I just want you to have this for first thing tomorrow. But then I should have just actually scheduled that for 8 a.m. the next morning instead of sending it at 8 p.m. at night. That would have been more respectful to the agent on the other end. And I think that we all could do a better job at that. Of like, let's not set a Sunday at 5 p.m. offer deadline, you guys.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
just
fucked
gonna say
up.
that.
That's
Stop.
not
Yeah.
nice. Let's not
Just
set a
gonna say that.
Monday at 9 a.m. offer deadline. Let's give people an
Midnight
opportunity
deadlines? Like, what are
to
we doing?
think.
Why are we doing that?
Let's be kind to each other. Like, if we do that, we're working too. So let's guide
Yeah.
our clients to kinder, gentler deadlines that give people an opportunity to think through what they're doing, even when it's a hot market. We
Yeah.
get to be in
And
control of that as agents.
yeah, it's actually better for the clients too. You're
Yeah.
taking one of the most stressful things that they're going through, and then you're talking to them on a Sunday night at 9 o'clock at night about their biggest financial decision
Yeah.
when they're exhausted. And,
Decision now.
like, let's be real. It's like, hey, this is the way the process is going to work. We're going to get all offers by Monday at 5. I'm going to present them to you on Tuesday at 9, and we're going to have a response by Tuesday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Right? Like, how much more professional, how much more happy and
And
healthy is that?
Yeah. I love
yes, we're controlling the business hours. In our buyer presentations and our listing presentations, we should be setting our business hours. These are the hours we're going to work. Outside of that's going to be by appointment. Of course, if there's an urgent emergency, but like, what's the emergency? Is the house on fire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If other agents are setting respectful deadlines, we should not have emergencies in this business.
I'm just saying, it is totally a self-perpetuating thing that we complain about and hate, but we do it to ourselves.
That's right. And we do, yeah, we are our own worst enemies, unfortunately, in this. And it's, once again, I think we have a unique opportunity coming up to professionalize this industry.
Yeah.
I think while there's a lot of stress with the NAR, settlement and some of the changes that are coming, I actually think that this is a golden opportunity. Once again, this is why I go back into this model of being the high-end financial advisor.
Right.
When I have clients that respect me and I respect them, they're going to listen to my counsel. Like, you don't go to your financial advisor and say, no, just sell that stock. I know you're saying not to, but I don't care. Sell it.
Yeah.
Like, no, you go and you say, hey, all right, thank you for advising me and guiding me. Like, and maybe you disagree, but at least there's a mutual respect. And I think when consumers are of the mindset that they're just going to click a button and go look at 10 properties because it's fun and it's Sunday afternoon, well, we sort of created that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in our defense, we are supporting technology that's fostering that.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a shame as an industry, we can't say to some of the third-party aggregators out there, just so you know, Sundays are no showing days. All open houses are on Saturdays, and there's no agent in America works on Sunday.
Yeah.
I wish we could do that, but
Yeah.
that one at a time. So one at a time.
Yeah.
And I think what I like that you do, Skye, is you talk a lot about mindset, because when you really get to the core of this is a scarcity mindset situation, right? We're
Right.
always afraid we're not going to get the next deal. We're always afraid there's not going to be enough. Like, I had this moment last night. I had a listing appointment. She's in Chicago. I'm in Indiana, different time zones, even though we're only 3 hours away. I set the appointment for 8:30 Eastern time AM. So 7:30 her time. She came to Eastern time and still wanted to have the meeting at 7:30 a.m. I take my kids to school at 7:30 a.m. Like, I can't do that. But there was a panic in me that I wouldn't get this listing because I wasn't going to be able to I wasn't going to make that. It's the panic. And I recognized what it was. And I just had to say to her, like, I apologize for any confusion, but like, is there another time? But earlier in my career, I would have asked my husband to take the kids to school. I would have had the meeting at 7:30 and I would have been stressed out about it. And I wouldn't have set the boundaries. And not only does that affect me, but then my husband's late to work and it's stressful for my kids and I'm not creating a healthy, happier human life, right?
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
not setting
Yeah.
clear boundaries for my client. And I felt
Yeah.
it was almost a moment where I felt like I had to justify it and say like, "Well, I have to take my kids to school during that time." I didn't say I didn't say that because
Yeah.
7:30 is not a normal work.
That's none of our business.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah, that's
not
not
business, right? I'm just not available at that time.
Yeah. Well, and I think once again, it's like one of those situations where when you're not working on your wellness and your health, right? And so the most agents don't have a budget. Most agents don't have financial stability. And
Right.
I'm feeling that right now too. Like I haven't made any money in 45 days. Like I'm
Yeah,
feeling
it's
it
scary.
too. So it's like, oh yeah, you want to do a Zoom call at 8 o'clock at night? Yeah. Like I'm it right in it with every agent, right? I have that anxiety. So I get it, you know, and I need to do a better job of my financial health. And my sister, thank God, is a financial health expert. So she's coaching me right now because I know if I was better budgeted and had more, if I had X amount of dollars in savings, I'd be like, I'm great. And I
Right.
am great. Everything is going to work out and I'm making changes. But I think this idea, this is one of the reasons why we need to insert health or wellness, you could use that word interchangeably,
Sure.
into everything we do. And that includes our financial health.
Right.
It includes our physical health, includes our mental health, includes our spiritual health. And when we are balanced, and when I say we're balanced, I'm not saying you're working at all of that at one time, right? You have imbalance in what you're working on. But when we have calmness maybe in these areas,
Yeah.
and we have a systems and routines and processes in these areas, it allows us to be at peace and make decisions that are good for us, our family, and for the other people involved as well, right? And that are healthy. She probably shouldn't be on the call at 7:30 either, right? So it's probably not healthy
right.
for her.
No, yeah.
So I think that's what I'm really excited about doing is as I start to build out this company, everything is going to have this mindset of health or wellness applied to the training. So it's not going to be, you're going to get on a Zoom call and I'm going to berate you about these things you're not doing. It's going to be like, here's how it's going to benefit you. Here's how I believe we should take some steps and routines to do it. And here's why. And then let's evaluate, adjust, and then make it authentic to you. This is a framework and you get to design within the framework, right?
So
Can I ask, can you coach me on, I don't really need coaching on this, but can you coach my husband on boundaries? What would you say to someone that has trouble setting boundaries professionally? How would you
Professionally,
coach someone that has trouble setting professional boundaries? So Colleen said a great one this
so
morning,
yeah. So
but
you're an
how would you
agent
help someone? Yeah.
with your clients.
Mhm.
The first thing you need to do is you need to look at your systems, right? So in other words, like I would do a scan, like a quote unquote, like diet scan, or like, all right, let me think of where my boundaries have been violated or where I violated them. And then are there systems I could implement to address some of this? So for example, maybe you have a bunch of listings and you're stressed out and you're like, are they mad at me because I haven't called them or whatever? And this is a tactic that I learned from Lance Pendleton. So one system that I think actually every single agent should implement is on Monday morning,
mhm,
you send a bulk email, or you can do a mail merge in Gmail. Compass, we call it bulk email. Every one of your clients on Monday morning would get an email, and that email will say, here's my schedule for the week. If there's anything that you're nervous, you have a concern about that you want to schedule time to talk, please schedule my Calendly link. Or if none of these times work, email me some options and we can try to figure out a good time that works. In addition, if there's an emergency, text me the SOS emoji or the Batman emoji or
mhm,
whatever emoji, I
Mhm.
often joke around, text me the poop emoji, right? It depends on
Mhm.
your personality and how
right.
you do your business, right? But text me that emoji, and that's my sign that you need me and if I see that, the minute I can call you, I will,
Mm,
right? And I'll
Mhm.
acknowledge it. So I'm aware of it. And this way, if there's an emergency, we have a system in place that I know that I need to get to you as soon as possible. Maybe there's a leak in the toilet. Maybe there's you got a call from the IRS. Maybe there's the loan didn't, whatever it might be. That's my sign. And what we just did in probably 15 minutes is we basically communicated with every one of our clients. We created the boundary to operate to. We gave them flexibility that if the boundary didn't work, we're providing good customer service, right? By saying, hey, you know what, maybe these times I'm available, it doesn't work for you. So let's have a conversation. And we give them an outlet where they can make sure they feel comfortable that if there's an emergency, there's a system to get a hold of you.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is we communicate our working hours without doing it in a way where we're saying, hey, I don't work after 5 o'clock.
Right.
Because you communicate your working hours by sending them your calendar, right? And it's a Calendly link or Google, whatever system you use. So that's a really great system that you can implement right away. So everything in business and life really comes back to systems.
Susie,
creating
you hear that?
Yeah.
You hear that,
Oh,
Susie?
you sound just like Susie. We should work together.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've met our friend Susie Adamson, but you definitely should.
Yeah. And getting a coach like Susie is huge if you're trying to build systems, right?
Yeah.
Because of the fact it allows you to really make sure you're creating systems that work for you from a professional standpoint. But I think as you do this, you always got to think about when you build your system, you got to operate in a really high level of client experience, not client service, client experience.
Yeah.
So you always want to think of what's in it for them. So don't build your system thinking what's in it for me to start. Like, yes, that is going to get integrated into the system, right?
Right.
But let's start with the client mindset. All right, the client wants to be communicated with. They want to make sure they can get a hold of you, and they want to make sure their needs are met. So let's start there. And then we say, what do I want? Right? I want to make sure I know when I'm working. I want to make sure I feel calm at night that my clients have been communicated to. And I want to make sure they know that they can reach me if there's an emergency. Do you know what I mean? So start with the client and then come back to you as you build your systems.
Yeah. I'm even thinking like when you're doing that, right? Like when you're setting these times, you can focus that time on your client, right? Like if they're calling you during a time where you're picking up your kids from school and they're all getting in the car and you're frantic, but you answer anyway because you're feeling stressed out, you're not going to be able to give them the best service. You're not be able to give them the best experience, right? And so you're actually doing them a disservice and yourself a disservice by being this frantic about things, right? Being available all the time. Because if I answer the phone at 7:30 at night when I'm putting my kids to bed, I'm not available to my kid and I'm not available to that client. Right? So that makes sense.
That's a concept I call, if you guys remember from Six Hammers, I don't know if I use this all the time. I called it being healthy selfish, right? Like we need to reframe this mindset around like selfish where it's healthy.
Yeah.
Right. And it's actually a practice of self-love in many ways. And that's a good form of actually a practice of self-love where I'm actually going to make sure I actually love myself first. And that actually allows me to love you more.
Yeah.
Ironically, right? Because I'm respecting myself, actually my respect level for you rises.
Right.
So it's a really
that's my sitting down alone to drink. Well, not necessarily alone because I have 3 kids, but sitting down to drink coffee every morning. I sit down before I do anything and drink the whole cup of coffee. I will not be doing anything for anybody until I've drank this entire cup because I'm healthy selfish and I'm going to do for everybody else all day long. So this 1 cup of coffee is mine.
Yeah.
You may climb on me, you may snuggle me, but I will be here. I used to be with Skye Michiels in my ear on my 6 a.m. call while I did it. Now I'm with Emily.
Cheryl has just realized the immense self-care of sitting in the car for 5 minutes before going in the house. Right, Cheryl? Working up in the car. Like I do that.
Yeah. Well, it's not before I come in the house because the kids can see me coming down. We have a really long driveway, but I went outside to clean my car.
Just sit in your car.
And the kids have no interest in that. And I just sat in my car with a podcast on and I was like, yes, this is where it's at.
And I do think as moms, I think there is, the, you know, I think there's more mom guilt than there is dad guilt. I will say. I mean, obviously I go through a little bit of guilt. Like if I am on a phone call and I have my kids, there's some. I definitely feel a little guilt. I think this is just my theory, and you guys can tell me if I'm
We'll
wrong
rip
or
you
not. But I
apart if
do
you're
think there's,
wrong. We'll totally rip you
yeah,
apart. Okay? Go
good.
for it.
I do think there's,
Coyotes are waiting.
yeah.
We're about to pounce.
I will say there's way more pressure on women and moms to be all things,
Yeah.
right? There, like, I think as a, and I don't know, I'm trying to make sure I'm not like
So far, you've got a
saying,
big fan club of
You're
moms.
good.
So
You're
keep
good.
okay,
going.
You're good.
no, and I'm talking to dads too. I'm talking to men too, because I think it's important for men to realize this, right? That you, like your husband, it's important for him to realize that you feel the pressure greater than he does, right?
Yeah.
And there's more guilt that you feel than he does. Like I actually don't feel that much guilt, and maybe I should feel more guilt, but when I'm working and I have my kids, and I try to be very conscious of it, but there are times where I do it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm able to pretty much rationalize that. But from my relationships with my mom or sisters and friends, etc., there is a little bit of different energy that moms feel, I think, than dads, unfortunately.
It's
So
100% true. Everyone agrees with you. We did an episode with Susie about mental load. And
mm,
interestingly enough, my husband listened to that episode. He's one of our 4 male listeners. And it made a huge shift for him because he didn't really,
yeah,
I think for him, he didn't realize that it was a pervasive thing. I think, I don't know, I'm projecting, but I think he just thought it was me. He just thought that
yeah,
I felt this way and not that it was something that most women feel, right? And I
yeah,
think for him, he was like, "Oh, to your point, like it wasn't like because he's an amazing man. It wasn't like he was not like he was bad or he expected me to be doing all of these things, but like it just wasn't in his reality that I would be taking on all of these things and holding it so intensely." And
yeah.
I think there is a difference, right? And that's
There is.
to your coaching, like that's why it's amazing that you're going to be, integrating and having people from all different backgrounds and genders and
Yeah,
cultures and races and things like that because every person is so uniquely different and they need so many different
yeah,
things and their perspectives need to be coached in different ways. So
yeah,
I love that.
yeah. I think it's very important too that you in the guidance you're getting that there's moments where you can look at the screen or the stage or the, wherever setting you are and you can say, I understand this person represents me,
Yeah.
right? And I think
Mhm.
that's really key. And with this NAR settlement, Susie and I have been going back and forth as far as like the observation of a lot of these online seminars that are going on and stuff like that. And it's like you recognize the sort of the inequity that exists in our industry,
Yeah.
right? It's white man, old white man, old white man, old white man,
Yeah.
woman, white man, and it's like across the board. And we need to change this narrative.
Yeah.
We need to push people to change it. And unfortunately, the issues of privilege are very, very subtle and hidden when you're in the privilege,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Whether it's race or gender or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to recognize that privilege actually gives you power and you need to give up that power. And that's a hard thing because for most people that are in privilege, they say, well, no, I have black friends. I have sisters. I support women.
Yeah, or I
But the
work
question,
hard. It's not, that was a big thing. Like I
yeah,
work hard for this. It wasn't given
yeah,
to me. I'm not
this
privileged because
wasn't given to
I
me.
worked hard. I'm like, that's not what I
That's
mean.
right. The
No
question you
one's
have to
saying you
ask
don't
yourself,
work hard.
Right.
no,
It's not part of
exactly.
it.
Right.
And the question you have to ask yourself is, what have you actually done to actually not just be like friends with, but actually take a step off the stage?
Yeah.
Actually make it an active action to say, who do I actually know that can actually get on stage and be instead of me
Yeah.
and speak to this group? right? And it's not to say that any of the people that are on these panels are bad or wrong or anything like that. It's not saying that. It's this hard process that as a culture we need to go through of recognizing that privilege is a very slippery slope, and especially when you're in it,
Yeah.
when you have it, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
because it's hard,
It's like
like I struggle with it
Yeah.
in the sense of
it's
like,
the
oh
like a
shoot, I didn't
visual
recognize that.
of a group of high school girls, or even like at a social gathering, and there's a group of in a circle, and somebody walks up. It's like it's the visual of like, take the step back and make space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
We need to take the step back and make space for other
correct.
people to join the circle, instead of it being the clique or the small
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
existed all along.
Yeah. I went through this
Mhm.
with the 6 Amers because, I was, you guys know it was like 4 calls a week and I'm working full time. I'm a dad. I'm like, so I would just, you're just sort of lining up guests. And then I think it was Susie came to me and she said, "Hey, can I schedule a meeting with you?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then she's like, "Hey, you haven't had anyone of color on as a guest." And I'm like,
Freaking
oh my
love
God.
you.
It's like one of these things if you would ask me like, "Hey, Skye, like, are you a fair person?" I would have said, absolutely. Like I am a very fair person. And then all of a sudden I look back at my guest list and like, oh my God, like, thank you for bringing that to my mind. And I didn't even realize it, and then from that point forward, then it elevated into my consciousness. And, it's not a straight line. There's always moments where you get busy and then, oh, like, oh, wait, I got to remember this. Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Intentional.
Well, and we talked about this before, the saying, you do the best you can until you know better, and then you do
yep,
better.
that's right.
And, eh, you know, and I do caution people, and Susie's great at this. Like, Susie doesn't hold your mistakes against you.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
right.
Susie's never canceled me for a single mistake I've made. She calls me on my mistakes, and I appreciate her for that. And that's what I urge everybody to do. Like, please, if I ever misspeak, if I ever have a blind spot, like, I want to be called on that all day long, but please don't cancel me. Please educate me and give me an opportunity to learn and do better.
That's
And
right.
I wish that for the entire world. I think that we all need to, that's one of the things we need to all try to do, is educate, give people an opportunity to learn and do better.
Can't agree more. I think it's
Mhm.
huge. And I do think as a culture, like, we've gotten into this world where there's, such such differences of opinions, and we judge each other on our opinions, which is such a horrible world that to be in, where you can't even, like, you should be able to have a conversation and disagree or have different opinions and then try to find common ground. And we've gotten into this world where there's just like, this is my side, that's your side. And if you're on your side, like Hatfield McCoy is like North South, Civil War. It's a shame that we can't be in a world where I can have a different opinion, you can have a difference of opinion, and we can actually communicate and then grow from that
Right.
more.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
I have.
It's that listening to learn instead of listening to respond.
Yes.
yeah,
Oh my God. Skye. So
yeah,
Mhm.
I wanted to be coached by not you, but your team, because it's not always going to
yeah.
be you. What does that look like? Like, what does the coaching program
Great question.
look like?
Yeah. So if you were to picture almost an upside down pyramid, the first goal I have is I want coaching to be available for all people. So at the very top of the pyramid, once again, if we picture it as a reverse, right? So sort of the coaching that's available to everyone is the program called the Happier Human. And the Happier Human is my signature program where we get to combine coaching around business and life, motivation, systems, routines, habits that are all going to make us happier, healthier, and more human, and run businesses that are more connected to humans as well. And we're going to do this through basically you sign up. If you were to sign up, it's $100 a month. So it's at a price point where it's not extremely expensive, but it's enough where you do need to be committed to it. And every Monday, each month, you're going to set a one word intention. So we get a energetic word going. We set one goal, and that just one, not 10, not 20, not 5, not 3, one. What is your one goal this month around? And usually I want you to pick a topic around health or wellness, right? Whether it's spiritual, mental, financial, it's up to you. You could pick it around business too, but I really want people to hyper focus. Like, I want to build a better connection with my husband, or I want to, I want to have lower my blood pressure. I want to lose weight. And then we'll get really specific with the actions you're going to take that month around that goal. And then we're going to read one book that month. In addition, on Mondays, you're going to get a motivational email from me. It may not be my motivational message each week, but you're going to get something that's motivational. So we raise our energy on a Monday. And in that email, there's going to be quick and very simple and tiny things you could do around health, wellness, nutrition, exercise, whatever it might be that we decide to add in there. On Wednesdays, we're going to have 2 calls each Wednesday that trying to make it the same call for each one, so you don't have to choose which one to go to. And it's 9:00 East Coast time, 2:00 East Coast time. So we get our afternoon people. There's an option for people that are not morning people. And most of the calls are going to be interviews with really inspirational people where you can get something. And then the key thing is we want to create discussions after the calls. So we're creating community. So you do breakout rooms where you actually go into rooms where you can talk to each other and meet people, everything like that. And then Friday, you're going to get a motivational text message from me. And once again, it may not be my motivational message each week, but something that is going to try to raise your energy right before the weekend. So the goal is I want to be, progress is not a straight line, but my goal is that 3 times a week, you're going to feel positive, motivational, connected energy that will, if you're down, it's hopefully going to bring you up, or if you're up, hopefully it's going to propel you even further up. And this is, there's other things that are included in this as far as community building and, one-off like trainings on finances or nutrition or, other things we're building into it. But the goal here is to build a community of people that are all trying to get happier and healthier, 1% better every day. And that's it.
So do you have to be a realtor to participate?
Nope. It's open to anyone. Now, there will be some segmentation in the sense that the message that does go out to a realtor will be a little more geared to real estate. But if I have some mortgage people joining, I have a nutritionist joining, which is great. I actually have a matchmaker that is joining as well. She's a good friend of mine and she runs a matchmaking company. And she's like, "Can I join?" I'm like, "Absolutely."
Well, you're going to have a
Great.
service manager joining too. Alex, this is on Alex's to-do list to join.
Amazing. That's a
I'm
dream
actually
of mine.
thinking that we're going to sign up together.
And honestly, I think that is a dream come true for me because of the fact that if your partner is a piece of your wellness. And how much cooler are your conversations going to be if you listen to some motivational person and then later that night you're like you're talking at the dinner table about like cool stuff. Not that you're not
Right.
already, but let's elevate our conversations, And
Right.
I think it's so yeah. So this group is open up to anyone. And then if we go one layer, so we go into the pyramid a little bit, then I'm going to have programming, like 7-week programming. The one that's coming up is called the Forever Real Estate Client. So this is where we're going to actually teach you how to build this portfolio of agents and actually do some of the work with you and for you as we build it. Right. So organizing your CRM, having marketing plans, having events, gifting, making sure your marketing is actually different messages to different people based on how you feel about them, not sending everyone the same email, the same gift, the same this, right? Using social media in a way where you're not posting anything, but you're actually using social media to connect with people where they are and about what's happening in their lives. So elevating the real estate business into this world where you have a portfolio of clients and the people are treated differently than the people you don't know. So, and then there are other programs we're building out as we go, but that's our first one. And these, once again, the hope is that there's other coaches that are leading some of these down the road. Not the hope, the direction is that's where we're going to go. And then the final one is something I'm calling flex one-on-one coaching. Traditional one-on-one coaching, I believe, is not a benefit to most realtors because there are 30-minute calls. You get on a call with another coach who's sort of judging you and you feel like crap. And then eventually you start avoiding them. You stop doing the stuff. I actually believe realtors function really well in very small groups or in ways when you're actually addressing needs. So for example, big team leaders usually have a need where they need help coaching their team and themselves. So this flex one-on-one on the team level is I'm coaching your team once a week. Then next week I'll coach you on leadership or whatever recruiting, adding value. The next week I do your team. So this is a huge value add you as a team leader can bring to your team. So it's flexible. And then if you're an individual agent, my goal would be you can find another agent or two. And this way you have your tiny family, your tiny group that you're working with, supporting each other. And we bring the cost down on the individual side on that. So it's $750 a person versus $1,500 a person. So this makes it much more affordable. And like I said, when you're working realtors working in small, connected, loving groups can conquer the world. When you're on your island, it's not a good place for realtors to be. And traditional one-on-one coaching, where you're on your island and you're being you feel a lot of shame and guilt, like, oh, I didn't do that. But then instead, if you have 2 or 3 people that you're in a group with, and that week you're like, come on, guys, let's make sure we meet to do our CRM, or, did everyone make their call today? And I'm not even coaching at that point. Right. And this is a world where now the group becomes this like living, sort of team without a team in many ways. So
Accountability buddies.
that's it. Mhm. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So what if we want to do that group coaching, but we don't have like a teammate or somebody we want to jump in with? Like, we don't know anybody else willing to do this right now.
2 clients in the one-on-one program, they know each other, best friends. So they're doing it. And then I don't have this built out yet, but I want to build out like almost like I don't know what we would call it, but like a waiting room or like an interest room where I'm like, this is who I am. And you could actually down the road, you can actually interview other people that are interested to find your match. Like, we're not there yet. Full disclosure, that's not built out yet. I'm still day, I don't even know, 45, 46 here. So anyways, this is what's cool though about creating a business is that, anything is possible, but it's also the trap. Anything is possible. So you got to be very careful to not try to do everything right away. So that's it's a big, big challenge to not be like, oh my God, I have this great idea and I'm going to do it. And then you forget about the really good other idea you had that is half done.
What are you doing to keep all these ideas organized, and what would you recommend we do?
Yeah, here's just, I don't know if this would help you or not, but maybe it depends. I'm a writer. I like handwriting stuff. So I have a notepad that is my idea place where I have this idea and I'll just write it down. And this way I feel like I didn't lose it, but it's also not present in my immediate. Does that make sense? Yeah. Now some people do really well with putting it in their notes app. I don't really use that much. I should, but I'm just a pen and paper guy. I'm a legal yellow pad kind of person. And an idea comes and it's literally just a notepad with so many ideas. Most of them just go there and just don't ever go anywhere else. And that's fine. But at least I address, my emotional need to put it on paper. And then each day you need systems again, where what's important and you keep that top of mind. So
awesome. Well, how can people find you, Skye? Where can we connect?
Yeah. So the easiest place to find me would be on Instagram at Skye Michiels, SKYEMICHIELS, a little different on the last name, I guess on the first name too. Our website is withheartcoaching.com. And then my email is Skye, SKYE @withheartcoaching.com. So 3 spots you can find me. And I live in Philadelphia. So if you're ever in Philadelphia, just call or text me and it'd be great to meet up in person.
Skye's the best, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Could you real quick just give a shout out to my friend Rachel, my business partner? She's a total fangirl. Could you say hi to Rachel for me?
Hi, Rachel. Well, hopefully you guys join the Happier Human. Let's go. Let's get everyone on this. So good. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, everyone.
All right,
I appreciate it.
That's a wrap. Thank you for joining us on this journey of laughter, life, and growth.
And remember, you're not alone on this path to success. We're right here with you every step of the way.
Please remember to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you found value in today's conversation, we'd be thrilled if you would leave us a review on your favorite platform. Your feedback means the world to us.
And don't forget to share this podcast with your friends, family, and anyone who could use a good laugh and some practical insight into navigating the challenges and triumphs of our minds, body, soul, and business.
Remember, we're doing this right.